Really excited about the future.
Absolutely. Congratulations. There's no doubt about it.
Oh, Mr. Thompson. No, that ball is crushed to left field. I mean, crushed. Start, get on the board early. Gary, how about the respect?
21-20, and we were 3 yards from upsetting the number 5 team in the state.
Live from Steubenville, Ohio, Ohio Valley Sports Online presents Week 2 of the Coaches Show, where we present each week the coaches from our local high schools, starting at 6 o'clock with Coach Reno Sawcott from Steubenville Big Red, followed by Coach Andrew Carter of Indian Creek. Next up would be Coach Josh Frankie of the Toronto Red Knights, followed by Coach Eric Meek of Steubenville Central, and then finishing out the night will be Coach Mike Colopy of the Edison Wildcats. The Steubenville Big Red portion of the show is brought to you by Fort Steuben Maintenance. Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to our Coaches Show Week 2. And as always, Coach, thank you for stopping by.
Thanks for having
busy. Just getting right into Week 1 didn't go as planned, but especially the weather, different things.
Really, those are all excuses. We just you can't turn the ball over, and hey, winning isn't easy. And bouncing back isn't easy. So, we had a rough first week. We had a rough week of practice, but I have faith in our kids, and that's what we talked about right after the game. Trust. They got to trust in us that we're going to keep working, and we got to trust in them that they're going to just do whatever we ask them to do. So it's a trust game right now, either way.
Coach, so you got me, Dan? All right, there we go.
There we go.
Yeah, the old saying, and I know you know this better than anybody, your biggest improvement comes from week 1 to week 2. What's been your focus in practice this week?
Really, it's the same thing every day. It's the same thing every day. Monday and Tuesday, we work on making Big Red better. Wednesday and Thursday, we work on our opponent. And this was no different. Although our practice got broke up a little bit today because of the rain, our focus has just been on just staying focused, get to the next play. I mean, that's important. And I think that the rain delay was really a blessing to us because our kids came out and we had the ball.
Right.
With the possibility of tying the game up. And, that doesn't happen very often when you're down 2 touchdowns and a 90-minute rain delay. And if you look at the game in retrospect, they scored their last touchdown with 11 minutes and 50 seconds to go in the third quarter and only had 4 first downs after that. So, I mean, we played good enough to win, and we played bad enough to lose, and no excuses. We'll be back. Our kids will. I have faith in our kids. I mean, we're not the only team to lose in the opener, but it's how you bounce back, and we'll bounce back.
Just talking at the beginning of the game, they go. They had a nice drive, and one thing that I noticed. And like you said, you don't win them all, and things have to happen for you to win. You had them 4th down twice, and they got lucky, got a couple first downs.
They got 2. They converted two 4th downs and a 3rd and 15, a 3rd and 7. So I mean, our first defensive drive wasn't very good, but I thought we played pretty good after that, and we played a good football team. It wasn't like we played the Sisters of the Poor. We played a good football team. I feel we're a good football team. I feel like we're still a good football team, but you can only talk so much. You got to put it out on the field now.
So, Coach, looking at, not to dwell on last week, but this week's opponent, New Philadelphia, played them several years in a row now. What do they have coming back? What do they bring to the table as far as challenges?
They're a lot. Formation-wise and defensive-wise, a lot like Ursuline. Talent-wise, not as good as Ursuline, but I think Ursuline has some exceptional talent. I think that New Philadelphia is more like us, and I would say that our defensive line has a little bit more experience than their offensive line, but our offensive line is young, and their defensive line is back from last year. So we just got to do what we do. And just adjust to their formations. Their tight end, they have a tight end in the game sometimes. They have a fullback in the game sometimes. And at times they have both in the game. And they do certain things off of that we just have to, our kids picked it up pretty good today. And
sorry about that.
That's okay. And hopefully that we're able to make our adjustments Friday night.
And I always like to bring up the positives, of even in a loss. What, like you said, what did they take? What do you take? The biggest positive thing that you took from that game last week?
The biggest positive that I took from the game was after the 90-minute delay, being down and then going out after the 90-minute delay, and just. The way we played, I really, that's the positives I take out of it, the way we finished. And we actually had a chance, at tying it up, but our kids didn't quit. And the positive I'm taking out of the game is, hey, that's one game. We got 9 left. And I'm not the kind of guy that I'm not going to pout about it, if you tell your kids to get to the next play, then you got to get to the next day. What's the difference? The next play or the next day. I'm not going to let yesterday affect today. and our players got to the next day, and we haven't, we watched the film on Friday, and then that was it. I mean, just, we're Big Red, and we got to worry about Big Red. We can't worry about anybody right now. Now we're worried about New Philadelphia, but Monday and Tuesday was Big Red. What we have to do to get us better. Is it conditioning? No, we're in shape. Is it physicality? No, I think we play pretty physical. Is it mental? Yes. You can't turn the ball over. Those are mental mistakes, and everybody considers turnovers a physical mistake. I consider turnovers a mental mistake because it's a mental letdown for that 1/10 of a second that you can't have. And but as far as last week's, it's over. It's done with. We're on to New Philadelphia, and I think that our players will come out and represent Steubenville and Big Red in a first-class manner, and that's it. It's about what's ahead of us.
Coach, I had the opportunity to watch our broadcast of it. I was out of town. I'd taken Cam to school, but some things that I noticed, picked up on, what have you. You talked about turnovers.
If you would have listened to your wife and not started him so early in school, he'd still be playing for us.
yeah, you're right. He was bored as it was in school, though. He was ready to go. But no, just watching the game, along with him and what have you. Mullins had a big game for you. Turned some turnovers they had into big plays for you. Definitely could tell that he's a 3-year starter out there. So that's in your opinion, is he one of your guys that your team kind of rallies around and looks to draw the leadership from?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because I tell our players all the time, if a coach or coaches are the leaders of your team, you're going to have a good team. If your seniors are the leaders of your team, you're going to have a great team. You have a championship caliber team. And our seniors are taking some leadership. It's just that some of our seniors are such good kids, they don't talk. And
right.
So in high school, you get that sometimes. You don't get very many arrogant players that are good, know they're good, and they're the leaders. So you get a lot of kids that are just lead by example and don't talk too much. So that's what we have right now. We have a good senior class that they're really good academically and they don't talk a whole lot. And like Fulks is a very tough track guy, football guy, and wrestling. And I don't think he talks at all. I haven't heard him say anything. I can just go on down and down and down. But I think that. I just think that the senior class as a whole are a bunch of guys that want to win, and I could tell it in their face last year when we lost that last game to Wyoming. And like I said, I'm not worried. I'm not concerned. I just know that we'll bounce back, and that bouncing back doesn't mean we'll win. Bouncing back means we're going to play a lot better than we played last week, and that's all I expect from them.
That's a big key. Just.
Play better than you played last week.
It's always about the winning, but did you get better? I used to try to teach that when I coached the girls, with Gus on the softball. We get better every time you go out there, and that's all you can ask. And I know you say the weather didn't play, big up, but what was the message? Like, you got 90 minutes. What do you do in there? I just always wonder. I've seen certain rains and lanes, but 90 minutes.
We just, really, I can't even tell you what we did. We just talked, and they sat down in groups, and we had some guys in the locker room, some guys in the hall, some guys in the showers, some guys talking to coaches. There were kids everywhere, but it was just a time that 90 minutes, the only thing I thought about is how are we going to leave this locker room with the amount of time left to go in the game. Are we going to, and I should have had more confidence in our kids during that time than I did, but I was just sitting there questioning myself on how do you go about. We had some kids with shoulder pads off, some kids with shoulder pads on, shoes on. It just, you got to relax. Mm-hmm. You got to relax, and then after a 90-minute delay, you only get a 3-minute warning.
Yeah, that was
right.
So, we just I made the kids get up and do some stretching and stuff like that every 4 or 5, maybe 10 minutes, and we just did things like that and drank a lot of water and just tried to keep them focused and tell them they're going to be tested. Man, you're going out there for 8 minutes. You don't have a whole lot to win except a game. Why can't we score and get the onside kick? Who says we can't do that? So that's what we talked about mostly was, it was 4th down and they were punting. Why can't we get that ball and drive and score? And we did. We drove down and scored and we stopped them. And I really believe if we had that, I can't remember how we used the first time out in the second half, but I do know that if we had that one timeout left, we had 2 left. If we had one timeout, one timeout's worth 40 seconds in high school now. 40 seconds offensively, you can run 6 or 7 plays. So, we had to use our timeouts defensively, feeling that we can stop the ball, we can stop the clock offensively in different ways.
Right.
But if we just had that one thing, when Isaac caught that pass and went out of bounds, there was 5 seconds left, and we were on the 44-yard line. What if there were 40 seconds left and we were on the 44-yard line? We're in great shape. We're in great shape to tie the game. So winning and losing, I mean, it just inches between winning and losing, and that's what, as a coach, that's what I build on. You're inches away from winning and you're inches away from losing. So don't get too high when you win. Don't get too low when you lose. Get ready to get to the next game, and that's really what we're focused on right now. Just tomorrow, and not even New Philadelphia right now. Let's just have a great walkthrough tomorrow, a great mental practice tomorrow, and Friday I'm sure that our kids will be ready. And by New Philadelphia winning makes it even better,
Coach, and one more thing with that delay that you went through, because a lot of times, our viewers and our listeners maybe don't know all the ins and outs of that, but being on that side of things as a coach, being caught and involved in some delays in past years, and also as an administrator, was there any discussion at any point of moving it to the next day, resuming it the next day?
Nobody said anything to me about that. No.
Okay. I just wonder, because sometimes, when they're looking at radar and what have you, that sometimes comes up in discussions about resuming the game the next day and what have you. And
I never even thought of that.
I would never go for that.
You know what I thought of, though? We did that with Niles one time. Mm-hmm. But I did think of, can they cancel the game?
Well, I was going to ask. I didn't mean to cut you off, but that was, remember, Dan, up in the press box, there were people who saying, well, they called the Niles Warren Howland game already.
Do we get a say in that?
I don't know. That's what I was going to ask you.
I forgot all about that. I should know that, but, I'm not the smartest tool in the box, but that's something that I should know, that I didn't know, that I was thinking of. Can they cancel this game? It's in the fourth quarter.
Both sides have to agree to it.
Sure.
Yes. 2013, we played Frontier, and it opened up right before the half, and we were leading Frontier, and the discussion came up. We weren't going to finish it that night, possibly resuming it the next day, and Frontier said if it was okay with us, they were ready. They would just call a game.
Really?
So if both sides agree upon it, that can happen.
Okay.
But, yes.
Well, I wouldn't agree upon that, because not that we still could have won, but I still want our players to finish.
Right.
And if we had to go back up the next day, I would hate that, but you got to do what you got to do. But talking about, I thought that ran through me a few times. Can they cancel this game? So.
Because I know they did. Like I said, they were saying they canceled Niles and Warren Howland already.
Right.
Well, so you're saying that they both agreed then?
Yeah, they must have both.
Yeah, they had to have both agreed.
I should have looked at the score, see what maybe one team was up big and they were just like, that's enough. But but enough with that. Let's move on to Philadelphia. What can you tell us, Coach? What kind of offense they running? And they talked a little bit about it earlier.
They run a multiple offense. They don't get under center though. They're a gun team. They run some sidecar, some pistol. So they do run all three of those. They run pistol with no back, pistol with a fullback, and no tight end, or a pistol with a tight end and no fullback, or a pistol with both. And so they're a multiple team, but they're always in the shotgun. The receivers, 167, 215.
Wow.
I don't remember him from last year, but he was a basketball player, so maybe this is his first year out. Their other receivers are about our size. Tight end's a good sized kid. Fullback's also the middle linebacker. Really good, tough kid. The tight end, number 87, is a defensive end, and their tailback, they run two different tailbacks. Their quarterback's a junior, and so they're multiple on offense. Defensively, they're in a 3-down line. Sometimes they're in a 3-2. Sometimes they're in a 3-3. Sometimes they're in a 3-4. But they always have a 3-man front. We just have to identify, gaps or where they're lined up. So identification's a big thing in our offense. And but our offense is, and you guys have been watching us long enough. Everything comes off our inside run, and so you have to make that go. Doesn't mean you have to do that first thing in the game. You might open up the game with a play action pass or something like that. But our offense is determined by the box, and so that's all I can tell you. Defensively, they have 4 kids back, 2 defensive linemen, a linebacker, and a safety. Offensively, they have a tackle, a guard, a center, the fullback, and a receiver back from last year. Their kicker kicks the ball not deep, but they spray the ball around, 120, sometimes in the middle, sometimes on the hash. So all our guys have to be prepared to defend the kickoff. In punting, their punter average is 37 yards a punt, but they only punted twice. They punted once against Green in the preview and once against Louisville last week.
Absolutely. Coach, just real quick, and I know this is down the road here, a ways, but just to bring up and mention teams in your region this year. It seems like it's going to be a pretty good region again this year.
Yeah.
Columbus Heartland, Columbus Reedy, Carrollton, Cambridge, Columbus East, Sheridan, Licking Valley, St. Clairsville, Indian Creek, and Indian Valley. Some of those teams made the playoffs a year ago. Some of those same teams return some players.
And Sheridan was added to our region.
Yes.
So that's a big addition. I think they were Division III last year. Now they're 4, and I think they might either be the biggest or second biggest team in our Division IV team. I think we're like 3rd or 4th, but they're very well coached. Their coach, his dad was a coach for probably 25 years. Passed away last year, being a really good coach. I met him when he was at Buckeye Local, and they're a very well coached football team. They're a very well coached sports team. Period. All sports. So they were a big addition to our region, along with the Hartley and Bishop Reedy. I think it's Bishop Reedy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So and then St. Clairsville and us, and it's going to be Indian Valley. I mean, it's going to be a good region.
Yep.
And Coach, that's going to wrap it up. I appreciate your time. Before you go, though, I forgot last week, and I was going to say happy belated birthday.
Yes, happy belated birthday.
I always remember his birthday because it was my dad's. I said 2 great men share the same birthday.
You think I wasn't miserable on my birthday this year? But misery loves company.
That's
so.
right. Yeah, he said he's going to call you. Did he call you? I want to call Coach Saka and
No.
tell him happy birthday.
Wish I had your dad's number. I'd call him. But he's one of the great ones from Weir High, and man, wasn't he good?
That's what they tell me.
Leon, I can remember Leon Jenkins. I mean, I know that name, and he was even better at WVU. But I mean, he was a player, and then you and your brother broke his heart by playing basketball and baseball, and broke his heart, man.
No, it's his fault I didn't play football. He told me not to play.
He's been limping ever since you guys bailed out.
No, I get mad at him. Coach, thank you very much. Good luck this Friday, Coach. That's Coach Reno Saka. Let's do a real big portion of the coaches show. sponsored by Fort Steuben Maintenance. After a commercial break, we will be right back with Coach Andrew Connor of the Indian Creek Redskins.
Choice when it comes to any and all construction projects, whether it's commercial or residential. Make Fort Steuben Maintenance your first call. You can rely on them to be the experts when it comes to roofing, concrete, plumbing, carpentry, just about any job that needs done. Fort Steuben Maintenance, they're fully licensed and bonded and will even give you a free estimate. Fort Steuben Maintenance. You want the number? 740-283-4890.
Has to play for Franciscan University.
Thanks, Fort Steuben Maintenance, for sponsoring Big Red Head football coach Reno Suckoch on the Ohio Valley Sports Online Coaches Show.
That was for just open.
You know, Fort Steuben Maintenance should be your first choice when it comes to any and all construction projects, whether it's commercial or residential. Make Fort Steuben Maintenance your first call. You can rely on them to be the experts when it comes to roofing, concrete, plumbing, carpentry, just about any job that needs done. Fort Steuben Maintenance, they're fully licensed and bonded and will even give you a free estimate. Fort Steuben Maintenance. You want the number? 740-283-4890.
This broadcast is brought to you by Ohio Valley Sports Online, your sports authority. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and get instantly notified when we go live on our next broadcast, only on Ohio Valley Sports Online.
Everhart Bove Funeral Home, they believe you should take care of your loved ones while you still can. Pre-planning at Everhart Bove ensures that your family won't have to worry about the stress of final arrangements during this most difficult time. More importantly, they won't have to worry about how they'll pay for it. Visit Everhart Bove Funeral Home today and discover all the affordable options available. Everhart Bove Funeral Home, Wintersville, Richmond, and Burgolds.
Ohio Valley Sports Online is your sports authority. Follow us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Live streaming high school and NCAA sports, plus weekly football coaches shows right here on Ohio Valley Sports Online.
And we are back, folks, here at Bennigan's. Wednesday, where we are every Wednesday night during football season for the Ohio Valley Sports Online Coaches Show. We're here with Coach Andrew Connor of Indian Creek. This portion of the show is sponsored by Everhart Bove Funeral Home. Well, once again, Coach, thank you for giving us some. I know it's busy this football season hits, and we appreciate you giving us your time.
I appreciate
down here.
Appreciate being here. Thank you.
And just want to say, congratulations. Big win. We talked about last week how important it was to get out early and try to get that first win on the road. And you guys did a great job.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Kids played hard, and for us, it's been a while since we won the opener. I think the kids started off the game well. We were able to, survive the rain delay. And, anytime you're on the road and you have to stop a game and you're in somebody else's locker room, you could use that as an excuse. And our kids didn't. We came out right afterwards, and, we were able to finish the football game.
Coach, one of the biggest things, I had an opportunity to catch the highlights, of your game. I was out of town, came into school, so I did catch the highlights, and then Coach Hammock was kind enough to show me a few plays from your huddle and what have you. What a difference a year has made in the maturity of some of your guys that got kind of thrown to the fire a year ago. Specifically, I have a soft spot for the Twins, I had them in class last year. I'm a big fan of offensive linemen, and I saw Nishon in the hallway today, and I just complimented him on how much better he's moving his feet this year.
He is. I mean, he's him and Samaji both have really been, worried about their weight. Both guys, have expectations beyond high school football, and they worked hard in the summer. We went to some camps, Youngstown and other places, and they were focused. And I think they're very proud of how they look right now. And then again, that allows them to move better. They're a main part of the 5 guys we return as a group on that offensive line. And I told the Kiwanis, they say, what's the biggest difference between this year and last year? Driver's license. Mm-hmm. Some of our kids actually have driver's license now, and that's probably one of the things I'll most remember about coaching during this time period is I had a chance to coach those kids when they were young. and we took our lumps last year, and I think that experience and seeing what they needed to work on in a way where you see it during a game, it goes a long way.
Yeah, and you talked about, wanting to establish your style of play, and it looked like, when I saw that you were able to, from the beginning of the game establish, even like the newspaper said, ground and pound. I mean, you went right at them. So were you able to, do what you wanted, go the way you wanted to go?
Well, the thing for us was, we wanted to start getting back to physical football, and that was on both sides of the ball, and I think we did on both sides. I think the important thing for us is, we have obviously Zion is our lead back, and and we're blessed with a kid who, is able not only just to run the ball, but he can do so many things with his feet, and then we're able to kind of go with Gavin Pinal, and then we have a freshman in Worrells, and so. With all that, Brett is a speedster as a freshman. Gavin's more of that middle ground guy, is a break guy for Zion, but it's the offensive line for us, and we wanted to establish the line of scrimmage. I think we did on both sides. The only thing that would kind of, make me go back a little bit is, still trying to get over that hump of getting to a program that's consistent. We left points on the field that we should have used and scored on, and then we gave up some big plays defensively, and but that stuff is with growth. I mean, there's stuff we have to clean up. We know that going into this week. But, overall, I think the mentality that we want to get back to, we got back to.
Awesome.
So this week's opponent, East Liverpool, new head coach. Okay, not a new head coach, but new to the program there. Coach Cusick was at Crestview for a number of years. And just looking at them as a team, what has he brought with him? As far as a program, have they changed style? Have they changed their offense? Have they changed their defense? So on and so forth.
I think probably the biggest thing, and you would know this as being a head coach, he brought stability and organization. I think those are the two biggest things. You can tell just the way they do things now. I'd gone against Coach twice. When he was at Crestview, he played Indian Creek, and just seeing him in all those Quad County meetings and seeing how he's programmed, he's brought them stability. And I think, as the year goes on, you'll see more and more of that. I think his running game is good. I think, he knows how to spread the field. I think he knows how to use formations. I think there's a lot of things that they have, and they have talent. They have a lot of speed. They have a big offensive line, and I think he's going to use what they have and channel that into giving them the best opportunity to win. Defensively, same thing. He brought in Coach Ramsey from Wellsville, again, another head coach. He's up there. So you could see just the quality of coaching, is going to be important for their program. And again, the stability of their program. And, we watched them against Minerva and against Crestview in their preview game. They do things well. And I think that's the sign of a good football team is, you want to do things well, and they do that now.
Yeah. Coach, there's one thing before, I move on any further, there's one question I specifically wanted to ask you, because we talked about it, openly last year, that you were, you'd be good for 3 plays and then bad for 1 big play, or you'd be good, for so far in so many series, and then all of a sudden, well, this year you jumped out, 15-0, and then, Cambridge scores, they make the game close. What was the message to keep the kids thinking, like, oh, okay, here we go again, what was the, because you jumped right back at them, and, I think that's just one of the, you said, a big improvement from.
Our motto this year is embrace the journey, and I try to tell the kids, football, they always say it's the 10 fastest weeks, and to people watching it, it is, but for a football program, it is a marathon. It's not a sprint, and I told the kids there's going to be ebbs and flows in the game. We just have to be able to overcome those bad moments we're going to have, because every football team at every level is going to have bad moments. It's whether or not you can stop the bad moments before they snowball into something worse. And I thought our kids learned that lesson last year.
Exactly.
And I saw the leadership that we expected from our older kids now, those juniors and seniors now that have played for us. And I think they did a good job of calming us and getting back to playing football again. And again, one of the things I'd want to say is, we sat there in that locker room for maybe an hour. It seemed like 15 hours, but an hour. I want to thank the people that stayed. We had some people that stayed, our fans, our parents, cheerleaders, they stayed there. And I think when we went back out, that was an important part for us, to see that there were still people there and kind of give us some energy, because, we scored right away, and then we faced some adversity on our kickoff team. and we gave up a score, but we didn't falter. And I think that's the biggest thing for us.
Right.
Don't falter. Take the blows. And I always told them, we talked about, maybe landing the first punch. I said what I was going to look at was when they finally landed a punch on us, what would we do? Because, we joked, everybody's got a plan until you get hit. And then you have to decide what that plan is. And I think our kids did really well of being able to take some hits, take some blows, and not have us go downhill as we did last year in a couple of our games.
Yeah, I just wanted that was a big thing to me. I saw that they'd scored and you guys came right back, so that was huge. And I did want to ask you, ask Coach Salkach too. What do you do in the locker room for an hour? 15 minutes?
It's hard. I mean, you want to walk around, make sure they're hydrated. You want to keep them focused, but you don't want them to be like jumping up and down because you don't know. I mean, and one of the things that told them out there was we were not coming back. We were going to sit there. If we had to play at 4 a.m., we were playing at 4 a.m. Right. So I think our kids knew by the way I went in, telling them, hey, buckle up. We're not going home. At no point am I leaving this stadium. I'm finishing this game. So I think that helped them too, and I think they did a good job. And again, that's part of that learning curve. Last year we wouldn't be able to handle that. Right. Last year we would have lost our focus, but our kids did everything they were supposed to. They ate some granola bars. They drank water. They knew they were going to go back out there. And our older kids, kept reminding those kids, knock it off, pay attention, settle down. And you need leadership. Yeah. And I told them it can't always be coach-driven. If you're going to be good, some point your kids have to be the leaders of their team. And I think our captains did a good job. Our older kids did a good job. And we stayed focused because we went right back out there and we finished the game. And, that's kudos to those kids. But again, we went through hard times and, it's one of two things. You're either going to continue to go down this road or you're going to say enough's enough. And I'm hoping now that I saw that early part of our year where we said enough's enough.
That's awesome.
Coach, mentioning there, how your kids respond to adversity and so on, and how it's, a different attitude with that this year and so on and so forth. I'm privy to a little bit of inside information, but I learned the other day that you had a key loss the day before the game. You had a key loss the day before the game, one kind of a freak thing, losing Bodo to injury. Your kids responded to that. Okay, did you feel that? Did you feel that loss by committee, or did you have? Because I know you have depth. I know you have a lot of depth this year compared to previous years. Who was able to step up, or was it multiple guys that stepped up to fill that void left by that injury?
We kind of were multiple guys. I mean, first of all, Caleb did a great job because he didn't pout, and he's a captain,
right? And
he did a good job on the sidelines of redirecting his energy to be a leader. So that's a lot because you hurt one shoulder, you're all ready to go, and then you hurt the other shoulder in a walkthrough. Right. You could pout, and he didn't. Right. And then Timmy Christian, Jomar Johnson, George Zadansky, Wyatt Doan, they did this by committee. We played a lot of guys there, and they responded well. We kept moving guys in and out, and I joked, a lot of times when you watch us play, our defensive line looks like a hockey change. I mean, we're sending guys out, we're sending guys in, and everybody knows your role, and I think they all responded to the fact, Caleb said, hey, I'll be out 2 weeks. You guys do your job, get me 2 W's, and I'll be back. And I think everybody kind of responded well to that, and the biggest thing for us was, to me, was just the way the offense. Joe Hammock did such a good job of spreading the wealth between all our guys and getting to 350 yards and being able to rush the ball. He did well with Zion to getting Zach Byard involved, and the offense is a work in progress. I think we're just going to get better and better, and I think defensively, Coach Osmond and Coach Kemp did a really good job of doing what they had to do there, and just the coaching staff in general, whether it was Coach Robinson, Coach Wagner, Coach Wilson, Coach Davis, Coach Karras, those guys all did a great job. Guys were coaching and hollering and screaming, and the kids saw how energetic they were, and they kind of fed off that, and that's important. Your first game out, you want to be good, and I can't say enough about how hard my coaching staff coached up at Cambridge and how well they did during the break, talking to kids, and then how well we did in finishing it. And I think the kids responded well. And I'm not taking that away from our kids. Our kids played fantastic, but, man, my staff did a great job of focusing in all week and then making sure that we didn't lose focus in the time that we were off there.
That's awesome. You talked a little bit about East Liverpool's offense. Defensive wise, what do you expect from What have you seen so far in the game from East Liverpool?
Defensively, they are a odd stack off defense. They're going to cover our nose. They're shading one way or the other. Their linebackers are off. When they walk up, it'll kind of look like an old kind of Eagle 52 look with their linebacker. They got two great linebackers in Davis and Ramsey. They play hard. They're physical. They got speed. And speed, when you have a defense with speed, they're going to get the guys there. And, we saw that in the Minerva game. They created turnovers, and they did a lot of stuff there for us, And I'd be remiss, too. I was thinking about this, because if he's listening, I want to make sure, because he played for me, our wide receiver coach and DB coach, Zach Crawford. I don't want him to think that I forgot about the effort he put in, when he was doing his stuff, too. So, and again, I've told you this before, I'm blessed because, between Michael Wilson, David Kemp, Sam Robinson, Andy Wagner, and Zach Crawford, those guys played for me. And, I feel like there's no greater compliment to a head coach, and Steve will talk about, the fact that when you're a head coach and you can get one of your guys to come back and coach for you, man, there's something special about that. And I want to, say that, as I get older here and I feel older as I'm sitting here, having that kind of second wave of coaches be the coaches that played for me, that's a pretty cool thing for a head football coach.
Absolutely. Okay, going along the lines, too, and, we've talked about your offense, we've talked about your defense, special teams. Special teams.
That's me.
Is that because, again, I said it to Coach Sack, and I know you've been doing it a long time, too. Your biggest improvement comes week 1 to week 2. So has your focus been in any particular area?
Well, not firing myself has been the biggest thing because, we had a lot of chaos on our special team. We gave a touchdown at kickoff, and again, Caleb's our long snapper, and, we had Caden Canistro had to jump in and do it, and God love him because that's a tough thing to jump in and have to do that.
Yeah.
But we did some things that, just weren't normal for us special team-wise, and that's been a focal point of us because, that's where hopefully our greatest gain is going to be is over that. And I don't want to get to a point where that third kind of branch of football is the reason why we're not successful. So we've changed some things, and, we watch each Liverpool special teams, and, we've gone over stuff with them, and that's been our biggest, worry this week is to get better on the special team side of it, because there were some things we did there that really, put us in a bind, and we were able to overcome them. But you're not always going to be able and lucky enough to overcome mistakes like that. So it's been something we're working on, and, again, it's something that I take personally because I'm the one that oversees our special teams. Coach Wilson, runs them on that, but it's my branch, and, I feel like, that everybody did their thing, and I don't know, maybe, sometimes I wonder what I'm doing, but that's something that it was an emphasis to us this week. We're gonna improve, and I told the kids the same thing you just said. Good football teams, they look at themselves between 1 and 2. That's the big one, because you had the game rehearsal in 1, you got to see everything and work on it, and then game 2, you kind of look and see did we fix all these things that we did wrong, and did we get better at some of the things maybe we weren't doing so well. So that's the thing we've been stressing: get better from 1 to 2. And put pressure on East Liverpool because we got better and we didn't sit on the fact that we won our first game, and we're hoping that's going to carry us for 9 more weeks.
Well, it should be a great game up East Liverpool. They've got high expectations. You guys have high expectations. I know your great following is going to be there. You guys.
Like I said, our at the beginning of the game at Cambridge, I can't tell you enough about how many people came. They were sitting on the other side, and that's something that our kids realize that's an important part. You're coming off a 1-9 season, expectations are great, but if people don't show you that they have the expectations, it's not the same. Our fans showed us they do. The band was making noise, cheerleaders were cheering, everybody was going at it, and it was it hyped us up, and our kids got out to a quick start. We need that same kind of involvement from everybody going up to East Liverpool. We want to pack the house, make them feel like it's a home game for us and not for them.
Awesome.
And one last thing on my part, people don't understand, being in that building out there. Okay, what a difference starting the year off with a big win like you had makes in the kids. I was able to see them the first day today, and just the excitement they had and the looks on their faces, and that's a big thing for the school community as a whole. And I think a lot of times people don't realize how big that plays into your school community.
It does, and you know, like I joke, guys who haven't spoke to me in 3 years are now saying hi to me again. So we're back on the pace again.
That's awesome. That's going to wrap it up, Coach. Once again, thank you every week for taking time out of your busy schedule to share how the season's going with us, and we wish you good luck this Friday against Liverpool.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me, guys. Thank
Coach
you.
Andrew Connor, the Indian Creek Redskins. We'll be right back, folks, with Coach Josh Frankie of the Toronto Red Knights on Ohio Valley Sports Online.
Everhart Bow Funeral Home, they believe you should take care of your loved ones while you still can. Pre-planning at Everhart Bow ensures that your family won't have to worry about the stress of final arrangements during this most difficult time. More importantly, they won't have to worry about how they'll pay for it. Visit Everhart Bow Funeral Home today and discover all the affordable options available. Everhart Bow Funeral Home, Wintersville, Richmond, and Burgolds.
Thanks, Everhart Bow Funeral Home, for sponsoring Indian Creek head coach Andrew Connor on the Ohio Valley Sports Online Coaches Show.
Are you looking for a fun and exciting way to spend time with your friends and family? Look no further than Toronto Lanes. Our state-of-the-art bowling alley is the perfect place to bowl a few games, enjoy some delicious food, and make memories that will last a lifetime. The staff is always friendly and helpful, and the lanes are always in great condition. Plus, the food is amazing. Whether you're a seasoned bowler or just looking for a fun night out, Toronto Lanes has everything you need. We offer leagues for all ages and skill levels, as well as open bowling and cosmic bowling on the weekends. The atmosphere is fun and welcoming, and the prices are unbeatable. So, what are you waiting for? Grab your friends and head to Toronto Lanes today. Toronto Lanes, where the fun never stops.
Ohio Valley Sports Online is your sports authority. Follow us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Live streaming high school and NCAA sports, plus weekly football coaches shows right here on Ohio Valley Sports Online.
And we're back here, folks, at Finnegan's for Ohio Valley Sports Online Coaches Show, second week. And the third leg of our show, the Toronto head coach Josh Frankie. This portion of the show is brought to you by the Toronto Lanes Bowling Alley. Go up and see Joey Lepon, the new owner of the bowling alley, and tell him you heard it on Ohio Valley Sports Online. Coach Frankie, it's always a pleasure.
Thanks for having me. Thanks.
Great week one. You come out and you did, impose your will early and impose your will often, and just get things go as planned.
For the most part, it's week one. You're going to have some things, a little bit of hiccups. You have the turnover in the red zone. You don't want to see that happen. And Zeb knows better than that. We had gone over that play several times, and I had told him based off the coverage we'd seen that he was going to get the arrow, and he saw the corner and got a little greedy, tried to get the touchdown. But I think people forget that this is really his junior campaign. He's only a starter for a couple, for 1 year last year, so he's still learning. He's still young, and sometimes it's good to be aggressive, but you can get caught up a little bit. And we gave up some third and long situations. We obviously want to. We've been working to correct that. It's kind of a blown coverage. Our outside linebacker and our safety should have switched that coverage, and they didn't call the switch. And it happened like 3 different times. And honestly, as coaches, that's on us. We need to be able to see that in the box and make adjustments to that to make sure it doesn't happen again. So even the coaches kind of are still getting into form.
I do, but not to cut you off, but I do got to give credit. And there was a couple of those. The kids weren't that far. Oh, that kid he made some nice.
He did.
Yeah, he high pointed the ball very nice twice, because they weren't that. They may have blown the coverage, but that kid he was a bright spot for that team.
Sure.
Ollie Schrader, I think it was.
Yeah. He was a good player. Listen, they had some decent athletes. They had some decent kids. So, you give them some credit. Again, I think the message leaving the locker room for us was, we've been notorious for slow starts, especially early in the year. It's like if you guys are the team that everyone thinks you can be, like we can't afford a slow start. Like you got to get out the gates going.
Coach, getting the opportunity to be right there on the field with you guys last week. First off, I was really impressed with just your size and your team speed. And everybody knows that your big name guys, your big stars, but a few guys and a few names that kind of stuck out to me about Boucher, Baker, the young back McEwen.
Yeah.
Okay. You have weapons all over the place.
We do.
You do, and how does the team themselves, the chemistry amongst those kids, when you've got weapons like that out there?
Listen, it's challenging at times because they all want the ball,
right?
And they want the ball. They all want the ball more. And we started having conversations in June, pretty early on, of saying, listen, guys, we have a lot of mouths to feed. We're going to do the best we possibly can to make sure everybody gets the opportunities that they deserve. But at the end of the day, ultimately, remember, like, the goal is to win,
Right.
So, if winning means that we have to run the ball 50 times and we're only putting the ball in the air 5, then that's what we got to do. Like, we're going to win the game, regardless of how the stats come secondary, the personal accolades come secondary. And, for the most part, kids have bought into that. Now, do I get, every once in a while, we just, you get kids are like, oh, well, this week's game plan, my personnel grouping is only out there like two different sets, and it's like, well, that's just how it is this week, or like you can't listen. Cam Baker was like, Coach, think I can get a couple more carries this week? I'm like, Cam, yes, but I said everyone else on the team wants more carries too. So listen, at the end of the day, they're kids. They want the ball in their hands. That's what you want out of your players. You want them to want the ball, and we're just fortunate we have so many kids that are talented and athletic and can do special things with the ball. So it's just it's a blessing and a curse because you still got to try to find a way to keep them all happy and keep the team at the forefront of everybody's head.
Right. And Steve brought up about the the weapons, but the unsung heroes, both offensively and defensively, the line.
Absolutely.
Was outstanding. From beginning to end.
Yeah, so, and again, it's like I told you guys last week, we're going to be rolling in a lot of defensive linemen. I think we had, before we started pulling starters, I think we were rotating 7 or 8 guys on the defensive line. Offensive line, I thought, played fantastic. If we really wanted to hang our hat and just run the ball every play, I think we could have. But obviously we want to work on the passing game as well. And, I think they pass protected very well, too, so... just give credit where credit's due. Those guys, they're big, they work hard, they don't always get the recognition they deserve, but they absolutely deserve it this week.
Absolutely. Coach, looking at, this week's opponent, East Palestine, what can you tell us about them?
They're a little different. They run, I think the challenging part offensively for us is they run both a 4-4 and a 3-4. And, so obviously it's going to change your blocking scheme up front, but, their coverage schemes change. So now you're going from a single high safety to 2 high safety look, and, the coverages are going to change with that. So, being able to talk with Zeb and be able to just, hey, before you snap the ball, you have to distinguish. You get single high or you get 2 high. And then they'll mix up their coverages. They play cover 1. They play 2-man under. They're getting cover 3. They'll run a quarters look. So he just needs to be able to recognize coverage and make sure that we're in the proper things that we need to be. And he has Fritz, like we talked about today. He's been given the keys to the car. Like when he's out there, it's like, listen, man, you're in the driver's seat. If you see stuff you don't like you're me out here. Like change it, get out of it, kill it, and audible the play out. So, but yeah, and then they're kind of big up front. They have 3 290 plus kids that they rotate at the defensive tackle positions. So that's some size. I mean that's bigger than the kids we got. So we're big, but that's pretty big. So when they're in that 4, they play a kid that's 290 and another kid's 310. So that size up front that we're gonna have to try and deal with that East Canton didn't have. So It's different. It's a little bit of an adjustment for us, but again, it's just another week to get our feet wet and see what we can do. Offensively, they run multiple sets. They run their quarterback a lot. He's probably their best player. He's a mobile kid. He could throw it. He's back from last year. He's a pretty good starter for them last year. So alignment is an issue for them. They're kind of similar to us offensively. We want to give you as many sets as we can give you. So kids are going to make mistakes. They're going to align wrong, and when you align wrong, that's when we're going to get the big play on you. And I think they're trying to do a similar thing, and you got to take time to make sure your kids are properly aligned every play, and that's obviously it takes away from practice and other things.
Right, Coach. I'd ask you this, before we move on. We mentioned it on air, and you're up big, and you started substituting all the younger kids in, and they're driving down the field, and I remember saying East Canton wants to get a score, but I know Toronto and the coaches, they want that stop for the shutout. How pumped up were you when you got that?
Listen, huge, and listen, let's give a lot of credit where credit is due to Michael Henry, our place kicker. I mean, they had that long kick return, and by every sense of the word, that kid, I thought that kid was scoring. And Michael Henry, our kicker, ran him down, made the tackle right around the 5-yard line, if not inside the 5.
Right. Yeah.
And the defense was able to still get the stop and keep actually Russ Dickinson intercepts him in the end zone and is able to keep the shutout alive. So, but that doesn't happen if you don't get that effort play from Michael Henry. So, Michael Henry was my special teams player of the week last week, just for the simple fact that that's a pure effort play, and nothing out of all the plays that happened last Friday that were good plays. That was probably my favorite play. I mean, the effort plays for a coach. I mean, that's what you want to see is the kids, just giving everything they have to again preserve a shutout. I mean, that's awesome.
Do you have, speaking of East Palestine, do you have anything, planned? I know it's an away game. How far is East? About an hour?
Yeah, it's probably about 45 minutes from Toronto. Bus ride, probably an hour. Okay. So, yeah.
Anything planned differently, for the week?
Not really. I mean, we'll first away game of the year, obviously, but we eat right after school. We eat at the school. We'll do a quick walkthrough. We'll kind of get guys taped before we get on the bus. Hop on the bus, get there around 5:15. Specialists go out on the field, go through all their specials. The receivers, starting receivers, quarterbacks go out. They get a little bit loose, get acclimated to the field. 6 o'clock, come out as a team, start stretching and going through pregame then.
I'm going to ask you a similar question that I've asked Coach Sack and Coach Connor. Again, coaches always talk your biggest improvement comes week 1 to week 2.
Mm-hmm.
So your area for improvement has been what? What has been your focus for that area of improvement for your team for this week?
Today, pouring down rain, we spent probably about 45 minutes on kickoff. So just, a couple of things, just making sure we're staying in our lanes. The kickoff team for us is an opportunity for us to get some younger guys in.
Right.
Guys that maybe, like we've talked about last week, like we got some guys that probably are varsity starters on other teams that aren't for us. So it's an opportunity to get those guys out there, get them under the lights, get them playing a little bit. Obviously we had that long kick return last week. We had a lane violation. Somebody got out of the lane, created a seam. So it was an opportunity for us to coach those guys up today. The kicking game we weren't kicking it as deep as I would have liked. I think the guys were catching it right inside the 25-yard line. Obviously, you want it a little bit deeper than that. So we were kind of working on, kicking, see if we have other options at kicker for our kickoff team and just things like that. But we've really dedicated today a lot of times of, keeping containment, staying in your lanes, doing that kind of stuff. But, because listen, special teams it can make and break you. Yeah. That wasn't the case last week. They would score, we still win the game, but who knows down the line when a kickoff return for a touchdown can beat you.
Right.
And that's obviously something you don't want to see happen. So it's better that we go over it now, make sure that we try to perfect it as well as we can now, so it doesn't affect us later.
Yeah, that's one of our things too. Our listeners, our viewers, what have you, they may not realize. your preparation leading up to the season, special teams is tough to get prepared for week one because it's something you don't do live at practice.
Right.
It's something that you don't do live in your scrimmages. So really your first live action on special teams comes in that week one game. Right. So sometimes you don't know what you're going to get.
You're right. So, and again, we don't mind spending the extra time there. Like we had talked about, the nice thing with having so many kids back from the previous year is you're almost ahead of the game at that point. I felt after the first week of practice we were ready to go out there and play a game. Like our kids know the system. They know the calls. They know the offense. They know the defense. They know the alignments and the coverages based off of other opponents' formations. So it's like we are in an area right now that offense look great, defense look great. Let's spend some time and correct that kickoff team.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, Coach, I just wanted to ask you, what would the keys, without giving your game plan away, obviously, the keys for, both our offense, defense, special teams, all the way around.
Sure.
For a win, this week is Friday night.
So the thing that we preach since, the moment I took the job at Toronto, and I can't even remember where I saw it or who, I'm sure I stole it from another coach at a clinic somewhere. But the equation has always rung true is we preach, the equation to win games are turnovers and big plays. If you can win the turnover battle and you can have more big plays than your opponent does, that equation's almost 100% in my career. And, that's one of the things, and we talk about it every single Friday. After we get done with meal, we'll go do a motivational period where, watch some type of motivation video to kind of just get them jacked up a little bit. But, before we leave that room, we talk about big plays and turnovers and how that is what wins games. So we emphasize that. If you look last week, you had the punt block, you had 3 interceptions, and then numerous big plays. That's the outcome of the game. That's why it was so one-sided. And that's again, we emphasize that a lot, and kids I think have bought into that equation because all the years they've been with me, it's never failed.
Yeah.
So for us, the key to the game every single week is that it's just win the turnover battle, win the big play game, and if you can do that, you're probably going to be successful.
Excuse me, Coach. That's going to wrap it up for today. We won't be making trip East Palestine, but I did want to say thank you. We got to cover the game.
Yeah, no, I was glad to have you guys.
It was awesome.
It was a good evening, good way to open up the season.
Oh,
for
great
you guys.
weather, wasn't it?
Oh, it was beautiful.
It was
great.
Beautiful.
Always appreciate the hospitality, we're treated with from you and everybody in Toronto.
Yeah,
Mark
thank you.
Farrow, AD. And we want to wish you the best of luck Friday night in East Palestine.
Thanks, guys. Yep, appreciate it.
We'll be back here next week.
Awesome.
Talking about week 2 win, 2-0 Toronto.
Let's hope so, man. Thank you, guys.
That was Coach Josh Frankie, head coach of the Toronto Red Knights. His portion of the show sponsored by the Toronto Bowling Alley, Toronto Lanes. Thank you very much, Coach, and we will be right back with Coach Eric Meek of Steubenville Catholic Central right after these messages. Yes, sir. Oh, damn. Let's get
This broadcast is brought to you by Ohio Valley Sports Online, your sports authority. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and get instantly notified when we go live on our next broadcast, only on Ohio Valley Sports Online.
That's what I was thinking.
A pioneer of casual dining, Bennigan's is internationally known for its unique neighborhood vibe and exceptional chef-driven food. Come to Bennigan's on University Boulevard to stir up a great memory. Come for happy hour Monday through Friday from 3 to 6 p.m. and get $1 off draft and bottled beer and $1 off signature cocktails. Grab some bar bites too, only $5 from 9 p.m. to close. Hey, are you a soccer fan? Check out the schedule of English Premier League soccer games. Bennigan's even has delivery service, and the number to call, 740-792-8080. You got a friend at Bennigan's.
This broadcast is brought to you by Ohio Valley Sports Online, your sports authority. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and get instantly notified when we go live on our next broadcast, only on Ohio Valley Sports Online.
I was driving down here and it dawned on me.
A pioneer of casual dining, Bennigan's is internationally known for its unique neighborhood vibe and exceptional chef-driven food. Come to Bennigan's on University Boulevard to stir up a great memory. Come for happy hour Monday through Friday from 3 to 6 p.m. and get $1 off draft and bottled beer and $1 off signature cocktails. Grab some bar bites too. Only $5 from 9 p.m. to close. Hey, are you a soccer fan? Check out the schedule of English Premier League soccer games. Bennigan's even has delivery service. And the number to call? 740-792-8080. You got a friend at Bennigan's.
And we are back here at Bennigan's for more of week 2 of the Ohio Valley Sports Online Coaches Show 2023 with Coach Eric Meek for Steubenville Catholic Central. The Steubenville Catholic Central portion is sponsored by our host tonight, Bennigan's. So thank you, Bennigan's, for hosting us and hosting the Catholic Central part. And Coach, thank you. Once again, to tell all the coaches, I know this is the busiest time of year for you, school plus coaching, and just, we really appreciate you coming down here, taking time out to talk to us. And let's just get delve right into it. Great game. Excuse me, got a frog in my throat. At Wellsville. Just take us, a little bit, you come out, you took the lead like you wanted to, and, they punched back, but you were able to take control. Just tell us a little bit about the game.
Well, when I sat here last week, we only had the one scrimmage because just with our numbers, it's, a little bit risky. And I told you we had a real physical camp, and I thought we were very physical against Monroe and in the scrimmage, and I thought we were very physical Friday night against Wellsville. So that was good. The spirit, the enthusiasm, the intensity, the execution was good except for the 3 fumbles. 2 were fumbled snaps. Those are things we need to clean up real fast. But we didn't throw any interceptions. We moved the ball on the ground. I thought we dominated the special teams. And I thought our defense just played fantastic. I was so proud of the defensive coaches and the kids. We took away the kids were well prepared for what their best plays were in each formation. They executed the game plan. Number 12 was the kid we wanted to stop. And, he's a great player. And we contained him. Their fullback hurt us a little bit, but the bottom line is, despite that, they only scored 6 points.
Right, exactly.
Coach, you returned several players this year. Kids that over the last year, 2 years, were forced in this situation where you kind of a baptism by fire situation. Right. The maturation process that you've seen in those kids. And just to, before you get to that, just to note too, the word that I got, I wasn't fortunate to catch any of your game this past week, but I will be on it this week. The word that I got, or the word on the street, was people were impressed with the physicality.
Yes.
They said, what a difference from last year to this year.
Right.
Now, does that coincide with that maturation process that took place?
Well, I think a lot of things. I think first our senior class has really embraced what we're trying to do as a program and have been excellent leaders. I think we had a great year in the weight room. Obviously, Steve, I coached against you all those years. I know how important the weight room was when you were running the program at Central, and the kids just did a tremendous job. And like I said, we had a real physical camp, despite only having 28 kids on the team. And, I just think with the game experience, I told them all week last week that we had a lot of games under our belts, our starters. And despite that, we still started 7 underclassmen on defense, which is good.
Yeah.
So, but the senior class, our numbers, we have 8 seniors, 8 juniors, 8 freshmen, and 4 sophomores. So it's kind of balanced except for that sophomore class. And again, the experience that you mentioned, understanding, culture and accountability, and just the physicality is the thing. The physicality is the biggest thing that I have noticed, as well as the senior leadership and just it's just an easy place right now to go to work because the kids are just, as soon as I get there, I get there about 3:15, they're ready to go. So,
and I got to, give you, credit where credit's due because, that's something we talked about last week. We talked about during the year. You could see, after, the first few games last year didn't go so well, but you could see that they were getting more physical and more physical. And it was turning from, like you said, you always say, from street football or backyard football to they were learning the game,
right.
And they were playing, and they were hit, and you could, and all those kids are back, and I can't wait to see it Saturday night. We did carry the game Saturday, but through our sister station, but we'll be there Saturday. I can't wait to see the Roush boys, the Grimm boys, because that's what people ask me about, and I say, well, I don't claim to know much. I say I do know that line on offense and defense are going to be tougher this year.
And the other thing is too, we talked about the weightlifting. We lift hard in season.
Right.
Now with the Lightning today, we didn't even get outside. We were in the cafeteria because the issue at Aquinas with the gym being
right.
So now we're like limited facilities, and it is what it is. But we got a good workout in. It was more of a mental day, but we lifted hard, which we lift 3 days a week in season, and we'll continue to do that. Our goal is not to maintain, but to actually get stronger. And the other thing we did today is, with it being a mental day, with the storms that came in, is I was able to get the kids on the board instead of me on the board. I sat back, and they had to explain to us why we do things that we do, and it was kind of nice because they're starting to really understand football now.
That's awesome.
Now, Coach, going into the season again, didn't get an opportunity to see anything from last week, but you had mentioned, going into last week that you did change some things offensively.
Right.
For our listeners, our viewers that maybe did not get a chance to see you, what exactly did you change? What was your focus as far as that change?
Well, Steve, you would know because, we had some great battles, you and I.
Right.
Over the years, and it was fun. It was great coaching against always well-coached football team. But we're back to my old stuff. We're away from the no huddle spread, and now we'll still run spread. We'll go 4 wides,
right.
And we'll go 2x2 with a tight end or 3x1 with a tight end. But we're in the eye. We're also in the pistol gun with a full back up behind the guard, and we're back to the stuff that I've done my whole career, which is power, ISO, I call it gut, which is, the guard tackle, counter, away, sweep, the blast play I call, all those things, trap. And I think that's another reason why we looked more physical on offense, because that's a different style of football.
Right.
And the kids have really picked it up, and they like it, I think that the pass game is a little more controlled because it's a little more methodical, I guess, and you got a little more protection at times. So it just comes down to making good decisions and reading what the defense gives you.
Right.
And Coach, I wanted to talk about the one thing that not a lot of people talk about as much, but you mentioned you nail on the head of special teams. How great it was to see Sprock, run that kickoff back.
Yeah. I tell you, I love coaching special teams. I've always done it, and it's something that I usually do on Monday night after I get the coaches out of there. I usually shut the office door, and I'm alone, and I finalize it all, and it's something that besides the getting the guys on and off the personnel, I kind of do that. And we got really we spend a lot of time on special teams. We practice it every single day, and we have some weapons. And we like when we went for the block punt, we smothered the guy, and we didn't actually block it, but we tackled him.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, and then the kickoff return, we were successful. We were perfect on our extra points, and everything was just good. Our punt game, our punt return, everything.
That's awesome.
That's something I talked with Coach Frankie about before you came on. People don't realize how difficult that is to come out of your summer camp, come out of your scrimmage and what have you, where for the most part you don't run your special teams live. You don't run it live because of risk of injury and what have you. So your first look, at how your special teams are going to perform really comes in week one.
Yeah.
So, how do you, especially with your numbers, prep them? Do you your devotion practice time-wise and so on?
Well, this is something that I've got since I was a little kid from my dad when he was at Cardinal Mooney years ago. All 24 years as head coach, we do something called specialties, where if you could be a freshman. If you're a long snapper every day for 5 or 10 minutes with a coach there, it's rapid fire after the technique's taught. And they're snapping to punters, and punters are punting, and I got a return coach down there, and and I walk around. We keep them moving. We don't just let guys stand around, and we do that every day to start our practice after flex, and then we then spend 15 minutes on one day on kickoff, return, extra point. The second day, punt, return, extra point. And the day before the game, we run through it all again. So. And then we also, on Mondays we show it in our film. So we spend a lot of time on it. I try to keep the scheme simple. I think you can make things too complicated.
Right.
But everyone knows exactly what they're supposed to do. And as far as the numbers, so like, for example, a long snapper, we always know we got a starter and a backup and then a young kid for JV games.
Okay.
So, we just get a lot of reps, and everyone knows what they're doing.
Good deal.
Well, Coach, this week you travel to Strasburg.
No, at home.
Oh, no, you're right. We're doing the game. Jeez.
Right.
I'm going to Strasburg.
Ship them up there.
Strasburg Franklin's coming here. Give us a little bit, what to expect from this, from the Strasburg team, offensively, defensively.
Well, we have seen them in a 4-wide set on every play.
Okay.
So they're either in 2x2 spread or what I call it Roscoe Louie. It's trips open and they'll motion. Quarterback's in the gun. He's a big kid. He's a sophomore, but he's a big kid. He runs really hard. He'll run over you. So we got to have our defensive ends, obviously playing real disciplined so he doesn't pull it and get around. So that's very important, and he'll throw, and he has a good arm. So that's pretty much what they do offensively. Defensively, they're going to have a nose man and what I call, a 3-4. It's somewhat similar to what Monroe Central did a few weeks ago, but Monroe Central had the extra linebacker, and they'll play cover 2 behind it. So we haven't seen any cover 2 yet, or much cover 2. So that'll be a little new for our passing game.
Right. My favorite question of the day so far to every coach that we've had up here, all coaches always say their biggest improvement comes week 1 to week 2. So your area for improvement, from what you saw week 1 to week 2, what has been your focus this week?
Well, it's that simple because, I'm going to just tell you that in all these years I've done it, that was one of the most, from an execution standpoint, one of the most satisfied I've been for an opener. Mm-hmm. I've come out of openers in this long career and been like, really down, like, how are we going to win some games? So the biggest thing, without a doubt, clear cut, was the fumbles. And we talked about it. I mean, the one young man that fumbled the ball, as soon as the game was over, when we were celebrating, he'd come up and hug me, go, Coach, I'm sorry about that fumble. Because, we talk about turnovers so much. We turned the ball over a lot last year. We didn't throw any picks, so that's very good. But we did, like I said, we fumbled a few snaps, and then the one was when we had a little cramping problem, and we had a different quarterback in, and I just think it was an exchange thing. It hit the fullback off the elbow. So
I would say that's the biggest thing. And then we can't have if we can improve in everything else we've done, then I think it's going to be a good night because we had very few penalties. Like you had heard, we were very physical. We moved the ball on the ground. We moved it through the air. Our special teams are phenomenal. The kids, the spirit was there. It was a good night. It really was.
Coach, and I'd be remiss. It was one of the points that I meant to bring up that I didn't, and I'm glad you did. 3 penalties for the entire, that's phenomenal.
That is.
Yeah, I wanted to bring that up. What kind of size does Strasburg have?
They got some big kids. But, we actually, you've heard me complain a little bit or bellyache about our overall team speed, which I think is a little better this year because the kids are, and a little bit older but in the way we're physical, when you're physical, you look quicker.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because you're
attacking.
You're not sitting back and you're hitting instead of getting hit. But I think our team speed could be a little better than this team, but they do have decent size.
Oh, okay. If people don't realize that, I'm sorry, Steve. I can remember, a lot of these kids when they were playing a few years ago, some of us freshmen, and I was explaining to somebody, I said, you got kids, when I say kids, 15, 14, 15-year-old kids, sometimes play against 18, 19-year-old grown men. I said, and so that's a huge difference, and it's just so great. I feel like almost saying, it was like sort of growing up watching, the younger kids play as freshmen, and it's so good to see, that.
Right, and we discussed this too. Steve coached on some teams as a header and assistant when that central schedule was just loaded. Well, times are low. We got 28 kids.
Right.
And, we need to play a Division 7 schedule. Right. We're not going to apologize for that.
Well, we shouldn't.
and we're playing a Division 7 schedule, and that's what we need to do. And, Wellsville last year got us by 3 touchdowns. We got them by, 4 touchdowns this year. And just the overall play, though, was much, much better. Regardless, we could have been playing a Division 4 or 3 school. I'm not saying we would have beat the team, but with the effort we gave, I would have been pleased.
Right.
I'd have to go back and look, Coach. Is this the school's first meeting with Strasburg that you're aware of? I'm pretty sure I had that all somewhere.
Yes, on that site. I think it may
be.
I coached against them when I was at Wellsville.
I did as well when I was at St. John's.
Yeah, and the thing about Strasburg is when I coached against them at Wellsville, they were 10-0 and 8-2.
Right.
And we were pretty good also both those years. Well, the one year we weren't, but the one year, the 36-34 game. But, or they're usually not real good. Mm-hmm. But they're in that league, which is a really tough league.
Right. Yeah, they always impressed me as having really, really tough kids, hardworking kids in that area. And regardless if it's an up-down year or whatever for them, their kids always played hard.
Right.
And I know they're going to try to match their physicality. Mm-hmm. And
I got to see him, Steve, the first scrimmage weekend. I went down to Bridgeport and saw him in person against Bridgeport, and they do tackle well.
Yeah.
So they're not gonna, like I said, that quarterback will run over. He's a big kid.
So the wind's getting pretty heavy. I was looking out the window at one of the umbrellas out there. The stands at the tables just went flying across the thing. I looked up like, wow, but sorry to get off track there. Sorry.
That reminds me of that game you and I coached against each other. Remember that at Harding? It was like, and the rain was going this way.
Yes. Yeah. That was a pretty miserable.
Yeah. We talked
to play in that.
Yeah.
Was that the game we talked about? One game we did when Central punted, the ball went straight up and blew back. It was like a -5 or -10 yard punt. I don't know if you guys remember that. Do you remember that, Dan? And I'll never forget that. It was, I don't know if it was one of you two.
It may have been. It could have possibly been against. Oh heck, where was Andy Hake at? Western Reserve. I think it was. It was against them in that game. Yeah.
That ball just went straight up. A storm came out of nowhere like that, and it's windy as can be. Ball went up, and it ended up being like a minus 5-yard punt.
Wow.
I mean, Coach, before we let you go, just give us, without giving your strategy, some of the keys to the game this week for you guys.
Well, I just think we got to pick up the physicality where we left off and get better. And the execution, like I said, every quarterback I've ever coached, I tell them, I don't know, I might only throw it 5 times, but if I do, usually if you throw it only 5 times, you win the game.
Right.
But we always tell them, no turnovers, great decision, 60% completion.
Yeah.
And, so we want that. We want to eliminate the turnovers. We got 4 turnovers on defense,
right,
plus the punt that we sacked the punter on. So really, that's a 5th turnover.
Right.
So, but we just want to come out and play with. It's good when you have people stop you. Like I stopped in the volleyball game last night after practice. You have older folks who, Steve, I'm sure you knew a lot of those people. Who are really proud Central people stop me and say how proud they were of the kids. But I also told the kids this on Monday. You know what I'm going to say with this is that, take the compliments because people are being very nice, but don't, we got to get better.
Right.
We're not satisfied. I remember when I was at Youngstown, after we won that national title, Coach Tressel said, all winter, don't get caught staring at your ring. And that was a great one, And of course we won 1 game, but what I'm trying to say is, the kids need to really understand that we got to just keep getting better. That's what we always preach: stay healthy, lift hard, practice hard, and get better from one game to the next.
Well, Coach, that's going to wrap it up here at Bennigan's. Coach Eric Meek, Steubenville Catholic Central Crusaders, 1-0. We'll be taking on Strasburg Franklin this Saturday night, folks. If you somehow can't make it to the game, or if you're out of town, if your family's out of town, they want to watch the game online, go on YouTube or Facebook, Ohio Valley Sports Online. You'll get to see your grandson, nephew, niece, live, from Ohio Valley Sports Online. Coach Meek, thank you very much once again, and we hope this time next week we're talking to head coach Eric Meek of the 2-0.
That would be great.
Crusaders.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you. That's Eric Meek, brought to you by Bennigan's. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors.
You're listening to Ohio Valley Sports Online, the Sports Authority, bringing you the best in local sports, high school as well as college. Subscribe to us on our YouTube page. Check us out on Facebook as well.
Come and visit the Friendly Tavern on 213. Our little neighborhood bar is the perfect place to unwind and have a good time with friends and family. Here are some reasons why you should drop by. Fun and friendly staff. Our staff is always ready to welcome you with a smile and make sure you have a great time. Reasonable prices. We offer great food and drinks at prices that won't break the bank. Great food. Our commitment to using only fresh and high-quality ingredients means that every dish we serve is delicious and satisfying. Community feel. The Friendly Tavern is a place where everyone knows everyone. Come and be a part of our friendly community. Highly recommended by our customers, the Friendly Tavern is the perfect spot for a night out or a quick drink after work. Don't miss out on the fun. Drop by today.
Ohio Valley Sports Online is your sports authority. Follow us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Live streaming high school and NCAA sports, plus weekly football coaches shows right here on Ohio Valley Sports Online.
Got a sidewalk that needs replaced, or maybe your roof is leaking? How about some new windows? Who do you call? Fort Steuben Maintenance, that's who. Commercial or residential, they can handle most any project, big or small. They also do new construction and renovations. So get a free estimate by calling Fort Steuben Maintenance today and get them started on your next project. 740-283-4890 for Fort Steuben Maintenance.
And we are back here at Bennigan's Restaurant for Ohio Valley Sports Online Coaches Show. We're here at the Edison Wildcat portion of the show, sponsored by the Friendly Tavern on 213. Mr. Corey Freeman, owner of the Friendly Tavern. One of our new sponsors, want to tell him thank you. And, before we get started with the show, Mike Corey, as a sponsor, he told me, he wanted to do a weekly player of the game from someone from Edison. And he pledged to donate $100 per game in that player's name to a general need fund. He said anybody that needs, he said there's a bunch of needy kids out there. I just want to give some money that if they need anything, here's, a little help. And Corey, being a man of his word, he told me to stop by, pick it up today. And with that, I talked to you, and your player of the game was Deacon Rawson.
Yes, absolutely. We want to thank Corey and Friendly Tavern, for their generosity. It's great to know that, high school sports, in our school district is supported by local businesses, and we just like to thank him for his generosity.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you, Corey, very much. Well, let's get into a great week one. You go on the road, I don't know how, an hour and a half, how far is on Road Central?
It's about an hour and 45, hour and 50 minutes.
And you put it on.
No real easy way to get there.
No, Coach Marcino was the pilot, so he got us there. We weren't on as many back roads as we anticipated. It wasn't that bad of a drive, that bad of a trip.
Right. Coach, starting off the year with a big win for your program, a lot of the feeling, the talk was that you guys lost so much from last year. Talked a little bit about, though, however, the performance of these new faces, a lot of new faces for Wildcats, what you felt, how they performed coming out.
Well, as far as the new faces, we had some new faces, and, there was obviously, players that graduated. I thought our kids competed. I don't think we played as well as we anticipated. Not to take anything away from Monroe Central. I thought they had a really good game plan. Their kids played extremely hard. They were physical. But we, as coaches, you're coaching and allowing it. And there's a lot of things that I can look at myself in the mirror and question whether I did enough to prepare them. And that goes back to in the summer, because a lot of our mistakes were mistakes that we covered really day one on defense. We had a lot of penalties and turnovers. Those are all things that we need to clean up. But as far as the effort, we played hard, and it's all you can ask for.
Right. Coach, and in the adjustments that had to be, the first quarter was scoreless, and you still put up 34 points. So that's a tribute to, what was the difference, between quarter one and quarter two? Was it, nervous coming out, like you said, with some new players, or adjustments made between the first and second?
I would say that our players made some adjustments, and we were we didn't finish our first drive of the game. We had them pinned down deep. We got the ball, I think it was at their 30, and we got it inside the 10 and turned it over on downs. Like I said, we had penalties, we had turnovers on offense. Defensively was not clean. We gave up 2 big plays. We gave up a long pass from their quarterback to their best receiver, and then their quarterback Tucker Howell had a scramble. We had him in the backfield. He was able to break through, get to the second level, and he was able to score. But like I said, a win's a win. We're not going to give it back, but we have a lot of work to do.
Go along with that, then, saying that you still have a lot of work to do. I've asked every coach this so far tonight. The old saying, the old adage is your biggest improvement comes from week 1 to week 2. So where, as a coach, and as a staff, where do you place your focus, your emphasis? Because it's tough to work on across the board. If you had to nail down 1 or 2 things that you said was your focus from this week that we're going to improve in these areas, what was that focus this week?
Well, nothing to do with football, but I thought we were uncharacteristically undisciplined at times. I thought we weren't very fundamental. And to be straight and honest, I felt like mentally, we weren't as tough as we needed to be, and not necessarily, fighting tough, but being able to move on from a bad play. Everybody sticking together when things aren't going well, and those are things that are disappointing. But I feel like, that was an area of emphasis this week. The kids have responded from like a scheme standpoint. Defensively, we didn't get to the football like we needed to. We emphasized pursuit 2-3 times a week. During camp it was 3 times a week. During practice, game week, it's twice a week. Tackling, we tackle twice a week. I thought we didn't tackle well enough when we needed to. I didn't think we rallied to the ball. We weren't lined up. We weren't reading our keys. From an offensive standpoint, we just had too many breakdowns, offensive line communication breakdowns. It was, when the line was good on everything, they communicated, everybody made the right call. Then maybe our backs didn't make a cut. We had a fumble snap. Between our quarterback and center, we had a missed snap where our tight end went in motion, it hit him. Receiver-wise, I didn't think we blocked as well as we'd blocked in the past. But like I said, those are all things that we as coaches need to correct, and it starts with me. So that has been the emphasis this week. Special teams, I felt like our kick coverage was good, but we didn't break down. I thought we had guys that were flying down there, but once they started to close on the ball, they weren't buzzing their feet, sinking their hips. They were just kind of coming down under control. Punt coverage, I thought we covered the punts well. Field goal, we had, there were some things to clean up. I felt like there was an area where we needed to improve upon as far as that goes. So, that's what we've been working on, and it needs to improve this week. Gotcha.
One thing, Coach, I was really impressed with, you lose, great, such a good player, Gage Klein. You start sophomore, J.D. Henderson. I'm, reading, you guys ran for 110 yards, but you threw for 171. Was that something planned coming in, or just something you saw during the game that we're going to be able to pass on these guys?
I think that, first and foremost, I think our offensive coaches, Coach Vogel, Coach Piro, I think they do a really good job of game planning, and then, Coach, you know how it is. You start the game, things kind of change.
Right.
And we felt like, they were giving us, some areas in the pass game. So we were throwing it earlier, and then we were able to run it later. Once we made some adjustments on the field and at halftime with our offensive line, and it's, again, penalties are a part of it, but we had some costly penalties that brought back big runs. We had a touchdown called back. We had an interception that was called back. We had first and goal at the 1. We didn't convert on that drive. So those are things that, like I said, we need to clean up. And again, there's no, Monroe Central, I thought their kids played extremely hard. They had a great game plan. They were physical. It's pretty much what when you think of Monroe Central, that's what you think of. So I thought, that they, a lot of what we did was, attributed to their play. But like I said, the self-inflicted mistakes, those are all things that before the ball snapped, you got to take care of.
Right.
Well, Coach, the one thing that you did bring up, and I wasn't going to, but since you did, 14 penalties. What do you, obviously you want to correct it. How do you go about that with the kids?
Well, I think we had too much communication in the huddle for one. I don't think it was necessarily all bad, but there were some things going on there where, guys are trying to figure it out. And, when you call a play, the play comes in the huddle, everybody's got to be quiet. So we emphasize that. We had some holding penalties. We had 2 PAT penalties where we jumped off sides. Defensively, I don't know if we had any penalties on the defensive side of the ball, but we made enough mistakes that we didn't need any penalties on that side of the ball. And offensively, it was just one of those things where we had some holding. We had a clip on an interception that brought back, the ball. We had first and goal at the 1. It brought it back, to right inside their 20. And, those are all things that we have to clean up because, like I said, you're coaching it or allowing it, and either one's unacceptable. And, it starts with me, and it carries down to our coaches. We met, and I think everybody from the coaches to the kids realize what needs, to be fixed. And, words are one thing, but actions are the other. And I thought we came out and had a really hard, good practice on Monday. Yesterday's practice was another good, focused, hard practice. Kids have been great. I mean, they listen. They want to do well. For some reason, sometimes you get in a game and maybe the adrenaline or whatnot, but you have to have discipline and what you've been taught. You have to fall back on, and I didn't feel like we did that enough.
So, Coach, another road trip this week, headed to Independence. First off, where exactly, would they be located?
Independence is right outside of Cleveland. It's about 2 hours and 15 minutes away.
Okay.
Historically, they have a very, very good program. Their schedule is very, very challenging. Going back to last year, this year, they opened up. They had a scrimmage against Normandy, they went deep in the playoffs. They opened up with Columbia, which lost in the state semifinals to a Columbus school that ended up losing to Maria Stein Marion Local. They're very athletic. They have athletes on the perimeter. They got 3 receivers, 6'2", 6'3"-ish. Another guy's close to 6'4". They have a slot receiver, poses a threat. He's not as big, but he's short. He can move. He gets in and out of his cuts really well. He's quick. They have 3 quarterbacks. Their first quarterback, Dominic Narduzzi, he didn't play in their opener. Their backup quarterback hurt his knee about the third quarter of their opener, and they finished with their third-string quarterback who, looked very comparable to their backup. They have a running back. I can't think of his name, number 9. He kind of reminds you of some of those Newark Catholic backs back in the day. Corbin Shorty Priest was one of them that kind of came to mind. He's not real big. He's low to the ground, sturdy. He's got great lateral movement, but he's very, very explosive. They like to spread the ball around on offense. They have a lot of weapons, regardless who their quarterback is. And defensively, they play a 4-4. They kind of mix in a 3-4 look, but they're super aggressive. They're fast. They get to the ball. So we have our work cut out for us this week.
Coach, I wanted to ask. I lost my train of thought for a second. Size-wise, are they comparable to you, or?
They're. I wouldn't say they're comparable. They're more short. They have some size, but they're very quick, very athletic. They're a Division VI school, and they play some bigger teams, so they're used to some size. Mm-hmm. But I would say their strength would be athleticism up front. They're tough. Just because you're not big, doesn't mean anything. They get off the ball. I thought for their scheme is they do a good job of zone blocking. They have a lot of perimeter runs. They do run it up inside a little bit, but it's a lot of one back sidecar pistol. 3x1, 2x2. They do go a lot of empty, and there's some no huddle sprinkled in. So like as a defensive coach, it's a lot to prepare for. And from the defensive side, like I said, they're not real complicated, but what they do it really well.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds they're going to present a lot of difficult situations for you. Some matchup situations with some taller receivers, some quicker on the inside, and what have you. But you said they're primarily a spread then.
Yes.
Okay. Just an unfamiliar team that you're for us in this area that you're dealing with. But some of those teams that you mentioned, I know that is a strong conference up in that area, and. So it's going to be a big challenge for you guys for sure.
Well, when we scheduled them, we were trying to, to try to figure out who they compared to, and I think they got, offensively, I think they they spread it around, and they really they have a ton of screens. So that reminds you a little bit of Beaver Local.
Right.
You know, Coach McKenzie likes, he has tunnel screens, he has slip screens, tailback screens, tight end screens. And then their formations are dynamic, sort of like Toronto, where they present different things, on the perimeter, which you have to defend. And, that's something, when we scheduled them, we were trying to get an idea of who, what type of team we were playing, and that's kind of what we came up with.
Yeah, from a coaching side of things, you mentioned the screen game.
Mm-hmm.
I always felt, as a coach, that's one of the hardest things to install and practice
Yeah.
okay? And then on the flip side of things, okay, you're trying to defend the screen. So your kids have a difficult time running the screen in practice, but at the same time, you got to prepare for a team that runs the screen. So how exactly, I know defensively you want to tell your guys retrace their steps, what have you, but you're going against a scout team,
which is difficult.
You're right,
to
right.
replicate.
So. Is that one of those things that it's got to be a game time thing where you got to adjust to it because you can't really simulate it very well in practice? I guess that's what my question is.
I would say that first and foremost, Coach Nolan Marcus does a very good job with our scout team. Him, Coach Evans, Coach Marcino, they run the scout team. Coach Marcus is the quarterback. We were kind of laughing today. I think he could still play. He's a 2014 graduate, so what's at 9? He's probably 27 years old. He can still move. He ran that type of offense in high school, so he gave us a very good look. As far as the screens go, how do we prepare them? Film study, watching film. Being able to at least see, a back slip out or a receiver. Maybe take like a one step, pause, and then retrace. For a tunnel screen, they run slip screens where they just turn around and catch and go. Obviously, we have to put things on cards,
right?
Because, it's, there's always some things some aspects of your offense that the opponent has, but, when you're talking about doing a lot of things that necessarily you don't do, we put them on cards, and I think our coaches did well. And like I said, hopefully through the film study and through, at least seeing what it's going to look like, even though if it's not the same speed, hopefully, we're prepared.
Right.
And, I have another question I wanted, and I can't remember who it was. I looked up the Little League World Series. I know what it was, Coach.
Yes.
It's Independence, just outside of Cleveland. Mm-hmm. What's the plans Friday? After what time you leaving? You guys going to eat here? Or?
So it's the second day. Friday will be our second day of school. Our first day is tomorrow. So Mr. Morrison and Mr. Bozick. They're awesome to work with, our AD and our principal. So we're getting the kids out of school early. We're going to drive an hour or so, get out, go and have a walk through, eat a pregame meal, about the same pregame meal time that we normally have, get back on the bus and go. So hopefully it breaks up the trip. But like I said, it's whether you're playing at home or whether you're playing on the road, you just prepare for whatever it is that you're facing, making sure that everybody's focused, on that aspect of the day. The hardest thing about game day is, and how it is, Coach, you're just sitting there, it feels like you're watching the clock tick.
Right.
But just trying to keep your mind where it is at the present moment. If it's, 5 minutes to go out, visualize what they need to do. Coaches are, wrapping up any meetings and just, you stretching what it's for to stretch and not getting too far ahead of yourself, which is easier said than done because, football is one of those games where, the practices aren't always fun. The games are what's fun, and you just got to try to keep everybody bottled up until kickoff.
Right.
That's awesome. Thank you, Coach. Steve, you got any more questions?
No, I think I covered my checklist here.
Folks, this is Coach Michael Colopy, Edison Wildcats. Here at the Ohio Valley Sports Online, and that's portion of the show brought to you by the Friendly Tavern on 213. Mike, just want to say thank you. I know, it's busy. You come out, you come by. You brought us some T-shirts. Raymond's not here, so he doesn't get one.
I appreciate it. My wife and kids are awesome. They really are. They like to to bust my chops every chance they get. But they really are supportive. Like Kelly said, she said, "Where are you going?" And I said, "I'm going down to Bennigan's for a radio show." And she's like, "You're never home." But she just likes getting those little digs on me where she can. And then once I'm in between seasons, she's asking me when the next season starts, and she wants me out of the house. So it's one of the yo-yo effects that everybody's been a husband of.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's funny. Well, I appreciate it once again, Mike, and thank you. And as I told the other coaches, let's hope for next week we're talking to Mike Colopy, head coach of the 2-0 Henderson Wildcats. So
I appreciate
thank you very much, Mike, and we will see you next Wednesday. And once again, I want to thank Corey Freeman at the Friendly Tavern for sponsoring the Henderson Wildcat Player of the Game. This week's Player of the Game is Deacon Lawson. So $100 will be donated in Deacon's name to the needy fund, Corey called it, at Henderson High School. So thank you very much, Coach, and good luck to you.
All right, thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Thanks,
Thank
Mike.
you.
Good luck.
All right, thank you.
That was great. That's going to wrap it up, folks, here from Bennigan's. Tonight's show brought to you by First Super Bigger, Fort Steuben Maintenance, for Indian Creek, Everhart Road Funeral Home, for Toronto Rednecks and Toronto Lanes, for Steubenville Catholic Central, Bennigan's, and for Henderson Wildcats and Friendly Tavern on 213. For Dan Vogel, Coach Steve Daly, I'm Jason Jenkins. With props to our man of the club, Jim Jaggers Huggins. Have a great rest of the week, everybody.